Today, we are closing the market for military-grade assault weapons in Canada. We are banning 1,500 models and variants of these firearms by way of regulations. These weapons were designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to kill the largest number of people in the shortest amount of time. There is no use and no place for such weapons in Canada. We're introducing legislation to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership. What this means is that it will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada.
A lot of these firearm problems, like 95% of them, they are not legal gun owners. And that is the biggest thing. You know, they look at this store or other people's stores, it's like, oh, you guys are bad, you sell guns. But we sell guns to RCMP, you know, and military.
Mass casualties are devastating to communities. There's something no one expects to happen and that nobody wants to happen. And sometimes the quick solution given from many of the politicians in power is to ban firearms on law-abiding citizens. Today we're going to speak with the owner of Nova Tactical about the other side of the story on that issue. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and thanks to those of you who continue to donate what you can at firelucky.com. Myself and colleague behind the camera, Lincoln J, have come all the way out to Nova Scotia to give you the latest information that is pouring out of the Mass Casualty Commission. You can check out our reports on that. It's about the public inquiry that is looking into Canada's deadliest mass shooting, which occurred in 2020, where a denturist named Gabriel Wortman, who actually lived in the city I'm standing in right now, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, disguised himself as a police officer and drove around and ended the lives of 22 people. This inquiry is looking into how the RCMP handled that, how the Nova Scotia government handled it, and how to best prevent this in the future for communities. But it is also shedding light on political interference that apparently took place. According to notes from a superintendent named Darren Campbell, RCMP Commissioner Brenda Lucki pressured the Nova Scotia RCMP to go ahead and risk compromising the investigation by releasing prematurely information about the guns Wortman used. But here's something really important. Apparently, this was done in order to fulfill a promise that Lucki had made with then Minister of Public Safety Bill Blair and Prime Minister Trudeau's office to help further the Liberal government's gun ban. But the interesting point about this is that Wortman never used legal guns. He never acquired any of the firearms he used legally in order to kill those 22 people. And yet, around 11 to 12 days after the massacre, we heard this.
For many families, including many Indigenous people, firearms are part of traditions passed down through generations. And the vast majority of gun owners use them safely, responsibly, and in accordance with the law, whether it be for work, sport shooting, for collecting, or for hunting. But you don't need an AR-15 to bring down a deer. So, effective immediately, it is no longer permitted to buy, sell, transport, import, or use military-grade assault weapons in this country.
So you can check out the reports we brought to you already by going in the description below and clicking on the link there. But today we thought, why not share the other side of the story? The legal, law-abiding firearm owners who go to places like Nova Tactical behind me to, whether it be practice shooting or legally acquire a gun, yet have been scapegoated, it seems, for a political agenda to go further. We're going to talk to the owner of this place to get more insight on that. And if you want to continue to contribute to the cost for us to be here to bring you these reports, please donate what you can at firelucky.com. And also please sign our petition there to demand that Commissioner Lucki be fired from her position so that the right person can fill those positions and serve and protect Canadians. All right, this is Richard Toulany beside me, the owner of Nova Tactical on 600 Road in Dartmouth. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for being here.
Now, there is a lot of talk about legal gun ownerships, and there is an increasing sort of bans happening on that as well. So I wanted to meet with you and just kind of get your perspective on that. So tell us how long you've owned this and how the bans have sort of impacted your business.
Well, I've owned the pro shop and the gun range for coming around 6 years now, and the first ban that came upon when I've been in this journey has been the AR ban. So the government took away the AR style platforms, again with a lot of shotguns that look tactical, kind of scary looking, I guess. They banned those, I think, around 2 years ago, and we evolved to work around that to bring different products, more hunting guns. We have lots of tactical guns still here now, but a lot of them are going to be in the bolt action and not semi-automatic. Now, the new ban coming up this year is going to be a handgun ban.
We recognize that the vast majority of gun owners use them safely and in accordance with the law. But other than using firearms for sport shooting and hunting, there is no reason anyone in Canada should need guns in their everyday lives. And Canadians certainly don't need assault-style weapons that were designed to kill the largest number of people in the shortest amount of time. Canadians are united in wanting more done to keep communities safe and prevent suicides and gender-based violence. And that's exactly why we're here today.
A lot of legal gun owners, because we seem to get punished for things that the crooks do, I guess you can say.
I think when Trudeau announced that the assault rifles would be banned, he referred to them as military use. Is that true? Because I think it was over 1,500 that were banned. Were they all for military use, or was it a combination?
No, they weren't all for military use. Military, they use AR-15s. We have lots of AR-15s here, had lots of AR-15s here, but they're more for sports shooting in Canada. But he also banned like a lot of shotguns, a lot of stuff that wasn't in the military, to be honest. But they're projecting to the media that they are military guns meant for harming people, which is not necessarily the case.
Today's announcement builds on the things we did during our first term. It's the next step. And there is more work ahead to implement this and pass legislation to further strengthen our laws. I've already spoken with the other parliamentary leaders, and I know that we will be able to work together and do even more to keep Canadians safe. Every single Canadian wants to see less gun violence and safer communities. So today, we take another big step forward.
Trudeau actually announced that ban around 11 days after Gabriel Wortman from this area did that mass shooting in Nova Scotia, and the Mass Casualty Commission that is probing into that has recently found and brought to light allegations that there was political interference during that to go ahead and try to further this legislation on legal law-abiding firearm owners. What's your thoughts on that?
I do agree with what you're saying, and I do believe that there was some allegations. Whether they're going to be surfaced or not is another story, because they do a great job on hiding that stuff. This gun ban now is because of the shooting that happened in the States a month ago when the individual went into the school and did what he did. So they leverage that on Canadians and really try to push for it. It's the same thing that happened in Portapic in the AR-15s. And the funny part is there was no AR-15s used in that shooting. It was handguns, and the handguns weren't legal handguns to begin with. So it just defeats the purpose of everything,
Well, that's the thing. It is legal, but I don't think a lot of people realize that. I think they think, hey, a gun ban happens after a mass shooting. This is a great thing. What do you guys do as like an owner of this type of business? How do you, contact the government about the concerns with that, about how it almost seems like you guys and your customers are scapegoats for things like that?
Yeah, we are. Essentially, believe it or not, I like to look at it like we're getting bullied by the government. There's only so much that we can do. We have a really big shooting community. We've signed petitions, we've wrote letters, but again, there's only so much that somebody can do. And we're just crossing our fingers that the ban doesn't happen, because, it's going to do more harm than good. There's going to be a lot of people losing their jobs. right up to Canada Post. We do lots of mail orders, coming through us. People who do the transfer for the firearms, we're not going to sure if they're even going to have a job anymore. But in our field, we have a big pro shop, so we sell fishing gear, a lot of hunting supplies, so we'll be okay there. But it's unfortunate because they keep cutting up the pie for us.
Can you explain a little bit for people who are not familiar with legal gun ownership? What is the process for someone to be able to come here, buy a gun, and then go to a range or your range and shoot it?
Yeah, very good. So it's a great question. The way to get a firearm in Canada, specifically Canada, is you have to belong at a gun club. Therefore, you are wanting to possess a firearm for target practice. So when you join out a gun club, you can come in and pick up a restricted firearm. You need to have your restricted license. We're going to do the transfer of the serial number into your name. That goes to the province for final review and final approval. And once they approve you, you have to come down to the store, show us your notification, or wait for it to come in the mail. And then you have to lock it up twice. So that being said, you need to put a trigger lock on the firearm, close the case, put a lock on the case, show us your ID, of course, and then away you go.
Wow, it's a lot. Is there anything that you wanted to add or maybe say to people who are watching this that don't know a whole lot about buying guns and how that works out?
A lot of people think it's easy just to walk into a store and pick up a firearm. Again, that's not necessarily how it goes. There's lots of steps you have to take. And the most important thing I want to state is a lot of these firearm problems, like 95% of them, they are not legal gun owners, and that is the biggest thing. They look at this store or other people's stores. It's like, oh, you guys are bad. You sell guns, but we sell guns to RCMP and military. So are we really bad? We're not bad at all. There's lots of target shooters out there. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is everything you're seeing in the news has nothing to do with us. Has nothing to do with legal gun owners. But it's inflicted on us, which makes us look really bad. Because the first thing you say, oh, guns are not good. For somebody who's not educated around firearms, of course, guns look bad. Can they harm people? Sure they can. So can a car, so can a knife, so can lots of things. But you just have to be educated on firearms. And we don't call them weapons. The media use them as a weapon. Well, technically, this mic can be a weapon if you hit me with it. So, a gun is we call it a firearm. A lot of people, they refer to it, oh, could I see this weapon? Well, it's not a weapon because you're shooting paper, That's the biggest thing. So you need to be educated on the firearms. And, we just want the gun community to keep growing because it's a lot of fun. We take, hundreds of people a week shooting here. And I'd say about 100 people, like 98 of them will love it. And 2 of them might say, oh, I don't know if it's for me. But there's a lot of smiles that walk out of the gun range when they leave here at the end of the day at Nova Tactical.
Rebel News is the largest independent media in Canada. That's why we bring you reports like this that tell you the other side of the story, even when it has to do with firearms. If you appreciate that we're bringing you these stories, you can help us not by profiting off of this important story about the mass casualty, but instead just helping us recoup the costs to be here today and bring you this report. And you can do that by donating at firelucky.com, and you can also sign our petition there to have Commissioner Brenda Lucky fired as well.